Hello, and welcome back to the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Arthur, Multimedia Editor at PMW. Joining me on today's show is PMW's news reporter, Reem Makkari. Together, Reem and I break down some of the top-line news of the week, and it's all been focused on pretty much one thing, to no one's surprise, that's generative AI. We've had some real exciting news come forward on the Gen AI front. A lot of it coming out of the Microsoft-backed OpenAI, with some rumoured iOS partnerships with Apple, as well as an upgrade to its famous ChatGPT. We'll see where that stands in a moment. Also on the news front, Reem and I discuss Google's latest Gen AI innovations and the upgrades it's brought forth to its AI model, Gemini. Joining me after my discussion with Reem is Natasha Phillips. Natasha is an industry veteran with 15 years of experience across just about every aspect of the digital marketing world, but primarily she's operated across the affiliate and partnership sector. And the current state of play in affiliate marketing is a little bit difficult to decipher because it's something that's become far more fluid and broad than I think a lot of the industry is willing to appreciate at the moment. And so to dissect the past of affiliate marketing, the days of vouchers and cashbacks, to what affiliate marketing has become today when you look at things like social media and the impact that's had on brands' ability to partner with content creators and influencers, and how this has truly become the latest iteration of affiliate and partner marketing. So we touch on that. And excitingly, we also touch on the future of affiliate marketing and not only what the age of social media is going to present on this front, but also the age of AI. Impossible to ignore this episode. There's plenty happening on the AI front. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy this latest episode of the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. Reem Makkari, thanks very much for joining me today in studio. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's nice to be back. It's better weather this time, but I'm excited to do the podcast again.
We were just saying we went on our lunchtime walks and have both come back a little
Yes.
a little sweaty as well. Yeah. It's not all the lighting from the camera.
I know that this is on video. We're going to be looking sweaty.
It's just because we were all getting our steps in. It's actually Haymarket Step Challenge this week.
Oh yeah, I'm actually doing it. I have the Strava app.
Well, there you go. Got to get the steps in, Reem. It's good to see you've been doing that. But while we catch our breath, we're here to talk a little bit today about some of the news of the week. And surprise, surprise, most of that has centered around AI and generative AI in particular.
Of course, it's always either AI or cookies. That's like the top headlines. But lots of big news from this week. Apple is apparently in talks with OpenAI to integrate ChatGPT onto the next iOS upgrade. And they've been a bit secretive about their AI plans based on the last earnings call. But apparently they're going to have a bunch of new announcements that are going to come out during the Worldwide Developer Conference, which is on the 10th of June. And I think that the fact that they're integrating ChatGPT would be one of those announcements. So it's very exciting and very big news for a bunch of competitors, because it's not just the fact that Apple is now thinking of integrating ChatGPT, but Google also made a bunch of new announcements.
Yeah, I mean, on the Apple front, obviously the big news is ChatGPT sort of getting brought into the iPhone and iOS would be big just for sort of consumers' day-to-day use. It makes it far more widely available. And that report, we should say, is according to Bloomberg, and the sort of opaque language they're using is finalizing terms. So we suspect at the Worldwide Developers Conference, as you said, the company will sort of confirm those announcements. And yeah, as you touched on there as well, competition in the AI space, generative AI in particular, large language models, is heating up more and more because Google recently announced a couple of upgrades to its Gemini model. But before we move to those, we'll stay on the ChatGPT front for a moment now, because aside from the plans with Apple, the potential plans with Apple, OpenAI has also released a new version of ChatGPT. What's the latest version called and what can it do?
So it's called GPT 4.0, and apparently it can flirt with you.
Oh,
which is
well,
interesting.
there we go.
Did not think that ChatGPT could do that, but it would be nice to get some validation from some AI technology. Usually they don't respond to compliments. So the new version of ChatGPT is supposed to be just a faster and improved one. So it's going to be better. It's going to have better system capabilities across text and vision and audio, and just a very new, exciting version of it.
I suppose the other top line stuff that came from that is it's going to introduce reasoning across the model. It can reason, in quotes, across audio, vision, and text in real time. And users, they're going to be able to communicate through a two-way voice chat and video call that supposedly it can sort of handle interjections, and it can recognize objects and images in real time and start responding to people's immediate environment. So it's a bit of an upgrade on the current ChatGPT front, which has been a bit more text focused.
I think it will be a very exciting thing for marketers, because when I went to the Brighton SEO conference, a bunch of marketers were talking about using ChatGPT and other AI models to get for like keyword research. But then what they kept saying was you have to keep trying. It's like a trial and error thing, because ChatGPT doesn't understand you from the very beginning. You kind of have to train it as if it's a new employee for it to do what you want it to do. So I'm hoping that this new improved model is just going to catch it right away, and it's not going to take as much training as the old one.
Well, it talks about here the new version identifies emotions and from visual expressions, and discusses the content within images it's receiving, and its memory can actually recall previous prompts. So they're sort of billing this as something that can have a bit more of a legitimate conversation in terms of back and forth responses.
I'm just not going to have friends anymore. I'm just going to be talking to ChatGPT.
Yeah, well, I mean, if AI sorts out a conversational rhythm, that's certainly something to look forward to. And yeah, a flirty new personality. We'll have to see what shape and form that takes in. It's starting to get a little bit scary. I got to be honest, Reem, I'm slightly intimidated by the
You just have to
technology.
remember to be nice to your AI models, because when the robots take over, they won't kill you.
And now they can remember previous prompts, so
Yeah.
they're going to have a history to fall back on. Moving on from ChatGPT, OpenAI, and the aforementioned talks with Apple and the latest ChatGPT upgrade, what about Google? They never rest on their laurels on the AI front, and they've been innovating themselves, and they've got some exciting announcements around their model Gemini.
Okay, so Google is apparently embracing its AI era, or its Gemini era. So they've released a bunch of new upgrades for it. And one of the interesting ones was Project Astra that they released a demo of. And what it does is it can basically see through your camera and then remember things for you. So for example, like if you say lost your keys, or you don't remember where your keys are, the AI can remember where it is. So it basically becomes your eyes. It's a bit creepy.
It's a little
I don't know how to feel about it.
in theory, like a personal assistant, I suppose.
That's the aim, is to be a virtual personal assistant.
Wow, the virtual PA. It's interesting though, yeah, Astro, it can look through the camera and sort of get a gauge of a user's environment, should we say, and they can pick up things that are and aren't in picture and recall those. So that's one of the big updates on Astra. What else has come through from the new Gemini model?
So Gemini is also going to be integrated into Google Workspace, which is great for people who use Gmail, like we use Gmail. And what it does is it can help you with search. It can summarize and draft emails for you. And then it's also now available on Android. I think it was only available on iOS before.
It's an interesting one, that it's sort of gone under the radar, the fact that Gemini is now available to users across iOS and Android. So iOS in particular at the moment, they've got a litany of different large language models and AI systems that they can interact with, assuming in June ChatGPT joins iOS.
Oh,
But
that's
for now,
true.
we've got Gemini there too, Gemini 1.5 Pro. So there's a lot going on the AI front for users. Reem, but what about marketers? What are the marketing and the advertising implications of these upgrades on the generative AI front from big tech like Google and OpenAI.
So Google is also releasing a bunch of Gen AI tools for marketers and for content creators, and that includes the ability to create high quality videos based on text prompts. They also upgraded their image FX, and there's also now features for people who are making music. So it's all going to help in terms of content creation.
So again, we're looking at improvements on the internal front, I suppose, for in-house marketers, content creators. They can now get 1080p videos based on text prompts. Image FX has improved, as you say. So again, it's a lot more of the AI front, which is the trend we're seeing. It's just sort of saving time for marketers and advertisers internally for the moment. That seems to be where the majority of the push is.
I just think the AI space is not something to be scared of. It's something that, once you start to embrace it, is actually quite cool. The stuff that it can do, obviously it has its own issues where there's, the privacy issues and whatnot that you have to be careful of. But overall, I think once you see the developments that are happening in the AI space is a good thing, and see how it works for you and how you can merge it with your own kind of working conditions, I think you could go very far.
See, I'm still spooked by it for sure. I'm slowly leaning into AI, but you raised something there that I think is worth delving into just quickly, and that's the privacy element of this.
Yes.
And that's sort of the elephant in the room across a lot of marketing at the moment, not just cookies, but it is also AI, and they say that legislation tends to lag behind innovation, and we've seen some legislation being pushed through across both Europe, the US and APAC, but it certainly doesn't move at the speed of sound. So are these platforms that are investing in AI and making all these upgrades just sort of going ahead and doing whatever it is that they like, and they're waiting for the regulation to catch up to them? Or what happens here on the privacy front? Because a lot of this seems reasonably intrusive. So how much control is there going to be, if any, for the consumer? Do we know? Are they transparent about that at the moment?
I think the way that a lot of these companies are working with AI, they are saying that they're taking the right steps and the right measures to make sure that they're being cautious about things like privacy. But I think in the long run, we're going to see a lot of problems come out of AI that weren't raised before. Like, for example, now we're seeing people talk about like deep fakes and misinformation spreading online. And that's something that's come out of just AI being something that's gone big.
We actually had a piece go up today where nearly half of UK consumers believe AI is directly influencing their purchase decisions, and 70% of UK consumers consider themselves aware of generative AI tools promoting goods and services. But there's also a lot of fear and reticence that sort of undermines the validity of the content they're seeing. And so there's a lot of fear among consumers when it comes to things like deepfakes and misinformation. And another big one that popped up is actually fear of fake reviews. UK consumers' second biggest concern when it comes to trusting the legitimacy of content is AI-generated reviews and celebrity deepfakes. That's 38% of people's biggest fear, followed closely by broader use of AI contributing to the spread of misinformation. And only fake reviews in general was rated as a higher concern among respondents to this survey from MSI ACI, which came out in April, so last month, really recent, when it comes to trusting the legitimacy of content. So people are worried about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think with that's why you need to be cautious of still having that human element when you're trying to promote your brand. You can't just rely on AI 100%. You still need to have people vouching for it. You still need to have that connection with your audience too. And that's when things like first-party data become very important, because the way that you're going to connect with your audiences moving forward is by learning the most about them and not relying on things like cookies and not relying on things like AI. So I think it's having that right balance and showing your audience that AI is not going to be the thing that takes over your entire brand is what's going to be key here.
It's important to make sure that, as you say, Google, Microsoft-backed OpenAI, they all sort of are putting out things, and I see pieces of a commitment to responsible innovation of AI and responsible use of AI, and regulations will eventually catch up and ensure that the space is moderated as much as it can be. But obviously the consumers are the ones that, for marketers and brands, we're pitching all of our content and creatives to. So trust and faith on that front's really, really important to gain. And you just want to make sure that, overcommitment to things like AI, overcommitment to things like cookies are going to mitigate that trust. And trust is really easy to lose,
Yes.
but it's difficult to gain. So really, really important that everyone stays aware of privacy in general, because it's certainly top of mind today as things like AI continue to take over. Reem, thanks very much for joining me today on the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. Pleasure having you in studio as always, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Natasha, thanks very much for joining me today on the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. We're recording this on a Monday, and it's been a reasonably busy start to the week on my end. Plenty of news to cover. What about yourself?
Mine was a bit quieter. I had a few things to do, but yeah.
A few things to do. We were discussing earlier, it's been a bit of a weird eating day. Full of mushroom soup, boiled eggs, and chicken. I myself partook in a meal deal, which was far less interesting, but it made for some fun pre-recording chat. We're here to dive in today into affiliate marketing, which is a topic across the performance industry in particular. Like many topics, that's very fluid and ever-changing, and it's incredibly difficult to keep up with. So we thought we'd bring in an expert such as yourself to clarify the current landscape of things a little bit for us. But to start, what about we talk a little bit more about you, who you are, what you do, and what your sort of experience in the affiliate marketing space is.
Sure. So I started in affiliate marketing something like 15, maybe more years ago. I worked at Rakuten Linkshare as my first role within affiliate marketing, and really kind of dive straight into the deep end. I had clients like Topshop and the Arcadia Group and things like that. But I think it was really good working at a network to begin with, because you work with a bunch of different types of brands. And then I moved brand side to lastminute.com, where I headed up their affiliates and partnerships at a global level. So begun to work in different countries as well. And travel's really interesting in terms of affiliate marketing, just because the margins are tiny. And so you have to do a lot of like hard work. Plus, you have all the price comparisons that sit within affiliate marketing. So you're driving a significant amount of the revenue through that channel. Then I moved to Carphone Warehouse, where again, telecom's really interesting in the affiliate space. You have all your price comparisons again that really kind of drive that, but then also trying to do, you have much, much bigger margins there. So you can do a lot of really, really creative things, which was quite fun. And then went to Monsoon for a while there, and I was doing all of their digital marketing. So at both Carphone and at Monsoon, I was doing all of the digital marketing, not just affiliates. And then my latest role was at the Body Shop, where I went back into affiliates at a global level.
Well, there you go. I mean, if you ever needed a laundry list of experience, that's a pretty extensive one. And I think it's good that you've gone into affiliate originally, then pivoted, broadened the scope a little bit across all digital marketing, and then narrowed it back into affiliate. So an interesting question there is, what about the current state of play in affiliate marketing? How has the space changed since 15, however many years ago when you first got involved, to what it is today? And what are the factors that are driving the change, if any, that's occurred?
So I think it's massively, massively changed. When I first started, it was very concentrated on your voucher codes were really big back then, quite new, quite exciting. You had like MVC and VC back then driving probably like 30, 40, 50% of your overall revenue in an affiliate program, that kind of thing. I think it's really changed. So if you look at your traditional affiliates, it's moved a lot more from voucher code so you have cashback, loyalty, like lots of different types of players, which you didn't have before. Then you've also got your content, which are growing, your influencers and your tech partners as well. So I think coming back into pure affiliate after having been more broad over time has been really interesting. And I think having a really good background in all of the digital marketing channels is really useful when you're an affiliate marketer, because actually what you're doing is working with other websites that are using different types of digital marketing. So the more you can understand about all of the different types of marketing that they're doing, the better kind of conversations and synergies you can have with them. And I think affiliate marketing generally by brands is being seen quite differently to what it used to be seen as, right? So previously your CEOs and your CMOs didn't really love affiliate marketing. It was kind of seen as like a necessary evil. And especially when you're using things like price comparison sites, like you start working with them, the volume is huge, the commercials are tough. So it's kind of one of these channels that isn't loved. But I think now, because you have so many more different players, so many more different types of players, it's actually quite creative. And you can really do a lot more things than you could do before. Traditionally, it was seen as very much a last click kind of channel. You weren't driving new customers through it, all of that kind of stuff. But now with the availability of data and how all of these companies have grown and have a much better understanding of their audiences, you can actually use the channel to really target different audience types, build brands, do a lot more just general marketing than you could previously.
The scope of affiliate marketing and partnerships in particular seems to have really expanded, because you've got on some side partnerships between organizations that are maybe largely data driven. It's essentially a data sharing agreement, and you've got that perspective of it. Yep. But then you spoke to the creative sense, and I suppose the age of the influencer and the content creator, and not so much a brand or an organization, but a person within themselves. And, we spoke a lot about on the previous episode of the show, personal branding. And I think that's something that comes into affiliate marketing now, because you've got organizations that team up with content creators, and obviously they can run campaigns fronted by a very popular influencer. And so you've got a wide ranging scope of data heavy, very performance orientated partnerships that operate a little bit more behind the veil. Then you've got these very front facing, very out in the public, populating social media in particular, partnerships and affiliations with content creators. So it's a really interesting dynamic there, but I imagine it's one that's quite difficult to be across.
So what I would say now within affiliate marketing is you kind of have to look at it as middle funnel and lower funnel. So I think previously it was always only lower funnel. But actually now you can work with it depending what you want to do. So you can actually sort of split it out and say, okay, these are the types of partners that I want to work with to do this sort of activity, and actually measuring it differently as well. So I feel that affiliate marketing is no longer just a last click channel, right? Mm-hmm. Some amazing content can come out of some of these creators or some of these websites where they have a lot of content, and you can actually do more brand building and more creative things than I think you ever could before. But I do think you have to look at how you measure all of that, and that's always key within affiliate marketing. And I remember when I started years ago, right? No one ever wanted to ever pay a tenancy on anything, mm-hmm. right? That was the whole thing. Everything's on a CPA. And I think now brands are much more open to looking at tenancy placement or CPM or CPL or these different payment models based on the activity that's happening. And I think as well, when you kind of compare affiliate marketing to other channels, so if you look at your Meta or Google and things like that, right? A lot of it's being taken over by AI. A lot of it's becoming very automated. You have a lot less control than you used to have. The targeting is not as good, all of that kind of thing. So you can spend a lot of money very quickly without seeing the results that you want to see. Whereas I think with affiliates and partnerships, you can still build out the types of things that is going to drive results. And you kind of test things as you go along and you change things, but you have so much more control because you're working with other real people.
What makes good affiliate marketing in today's ecosystem, I suppose? What are the things that you need to avoid? And you've highlighted there that measurement's obviously top of mind. And mm-hmm. as affiliate slowly moves up the funnel a little bit in terms of what it offers, you've got to make sure that you don't go away from the performance and ensuring that these investments are paying off. But as creators and influencers enter the environment more and more, you talk about brands making sure that partnerships, for example, are authentic. That comes up a lot about authenticity and having a brand voice that matches your partner's voice as well, and trying to find, I guess it leans itself a lot to cross-sector collaboration to affiliates and partnerships, but ensuring you're operating somewhere where you're welcome is really, really important. So from your perspective, what are the sort of top tips and tricks to succeed today? And more importantly, perhaps, what are the pitfalls that you need to avoid?
So I think you need to build out affiliate, and you can't just look at affiliate as one channel. I think within the channel, you have to you sort of break things out. So either you look at partner types or specific partners, and you kind of work with them in specific ways. I mean, even within your cashbacks, right? One of them, might have a really good audience for whatever it is, but then another one is better in something else. So you would actually tailor the activity that you do with each one of them differently. So I think actually looking at each of your partners and working with them specifically is one of the key things to do, and building that relationship. Again, back in the day, brands were very big on being like, well, I'm the brand, I get to do whatever I want. Doesn't work that way anymore. A lot of these affiliate partners are now actually bigger brands in their own right than the brand themselves. So it's a two-way conversation, and working with them to make the best of it is best for both of you. You can't just, as a brand, come along and say, I just want this or that.
Is there something to be said for the audience on that front as well? When you look at the consumers, they appear to be a little bit more concerned with the brands that and you think younger millennials, Gen Z, they're very socially conscious, and they're concerned with brand image a lot, and the brands they interact with, they sort of uphold to quite a high standard when it comes to their value basis. And so is that another element that needs to be considered when it comes to affiliations and partnerships? These brands who perhaps might have just wanted to do as they say and whatever they say goes my way or the highway in the past, are now at the mercy of customer expectations somewhat.
Oh, for sure. And as you say, the younger generation find that it's increasingly more important. And so within affiliates, you want to work with affiliate partners that match your brands. And that, I think, but again, this is a two-way conversation, right? Because they will want to work with brands that match theirs and vice versa. And when that works, it works really well. The Body Shop, for example, they worked with Blue Light Card. That's a great partnership because, they both stand for very similar things and they both support each other. And because that relationship worked well, the numbers that you saw off the back of it were super, super strong. The better that works for both sides, the more activity that they want to do together.
We spoke earlier in the show about AI and how things are becoming automated, and the Meta's released a new suite of AI tools. Mm-hmm. Google's obviously investing heavily in the space. A lot of big tech, but it's working its way into just about every organization, particularly internally and within marketing, I think, at the moment, among marketers and within all of our sort of vendors that operate across the industry. Internally is where AI is sort of hitting first, and you've got to build up those skills, and I suppose externally will follow that. But when it comes to affiliate and partnerships, what is the influence of AI, if any, that you've seen, and do you have any predictions for how that might evolve into the future?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of two sides to it. So one side is AI creating websites, affiliate websites. So I've seen some kind of companies come along and they're able to create these websites very quickly. Question around the quality of whether the website is good, but actually if you're trying to rank on SEO and you want to be able to get these websites out quickly in order to be able to kind of build that out, you're seeing some of that, and I think there can be good. It can be good as long as there is some quality control in that. But again, the risk is that there's just going to be a whole lot of these sites coming out where the language doesn't fully make sense, and it doesn't look authentic, right? It's not a quality website, I'd say.
Yeah, I think on that, I was at Rakuten Dealmaker earlier this year, and obviously there was a lot of fear initially that I gathered from the industry looking in at affiliate marketing that AI, it'll be difficult for the two to coexist, at least initially, because things become a little bit opaque between transparency and authenticity, but then automation and what's automated and how you're ensuring quality when it comes to these partnerships, particularly on a measurement and data front. So how at all can affiliate marketers sort of trying to lay that doubt and find a relationship with AI that's two-way and as constructive as possible?
Yeah, I think on that side, we'll have to wait and see what happens with these sites. But, again, quality control when you're approving sites onto your programs and things like that, take a look at it and continue to check those websites and things like that. But I think on the flip side of it, one thing I would say about affiliate marketing is that when you're running it in-house or with an agency, it's quite bitty. So you often have a spreadsheet where you keep track of all the recruitment and you keep track of the activations and you keep track of things, and you have the reporting that comes out of the platform that you download into a spreadsheet. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, like manual work and templates of emails that you're sending out and things like that. So I think AI can really help with a lot of that, again, with some quality control around it. But I think there's a lot unlike other channels where you're using usually one system and you're not working with hundreds, if not thousands of partners, it's much easier to keep control over all of that. Where affiliate marketing, I feel like you don't really have that. So that can help with a lot of those like administrative tasks and free up time for the account managers and things like that. I think also as well, things like when you're trying to find new partners, so you want to find partners that have good audiences that would align. Again, this can really help save time on that. Or looking at changes in partner activity. So just kind of monitoring the numbers and then going, oh, something's changed on this partner site. Then to go and look out for it. Competition monitoring. So again, quite often you have people actually going out and looking at what the competitors are doing. So being able to automate that more and actually kind of drive actions off the back of that will be really good and really interesting. And content creation as well, just in terms of helping partners with what kind of content that they want to create, and so giving them that sort of idea. And fraud detection. So as we know, a lot of that type of stuff can happen within the affiliate channel. Again, when you're working with hundreds of thousands of partners, it's hard for people or a person to keep track of that. So yeah, automating that can help.
People forget as well with AI that a lot of the benefits just are across almost all industries. And it's, time savings, that big one, is effective use of AI can remove a lot of the more mundane tasks, do it for you. And that immediately is in and of itself a big enough time saver to just about justify an investment in that in some sense. And I suppose it's whether or not AI will be useful for everyone in some sense, and you're going to have to build up these skills because, as you've laid out there's a lot of really good, useful, constructive benefits. It's, I suppose, finding that balance between overinvestment and overuse and trying to get too creative with what AI does, because we've seen, particularly in the advertising world, it's improving, but it's not always perfect. We've got AI trying to write movies and films and adverts, and it's improving, but I find it a little bit spooky still.
I would say the one thing is, so affiliates is based on relationships, right? And so you need to make sure that those relationships are real. And I did recently get an email from someone who the email was clearly written by not them. and that puts you off because I'm trying to build a relationship with them and that's clearly not happening.
It's
right?
about as inauthentic as it gets.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if anything, it kind of made me go, actually, I don't want to work with you at all because you didn't even have the time to like reread your email before you sent it to me. So I think that's, especially in this game or in the affiliate side, like, definitely make sure that it doesn't come across as too AI'd.
Too AI'd is that will be the term we start seeing. This was a little too AI for my liking. I think we need to draw it back to a little bit more human input. With AI, there's been a lot of fear about AI taking jobs. And I know that's not what's happened with you, but we pivot into the job talk. And your experience at the Body Shop is something I wanted to touch on because I know recently concluded working with them there. Tell me a little bit about what happened and how that experience impacted you and how you've rebounded from it to where you are.
Yeah, so I mean, working brand side, you go through some redundancies. So I think this is it's either my third or my fourth redundancy in my life. So these things happen. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. I think with the Body Shop, it was a little bit more surprising because not that it came out of nowhere, because you could feel that something was coming, but when it did happen, it was very swift and felt quite brutal. So that was a little bit tough. And when hundreds of people are made redundant in one day and you're given hours notice, that's hard. So it took a couple weeks or a few weeks, and I had a holiday booked as well, so I had some time to kind of like.
It's always a good excuse.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was already booked, but it was good to just take some time and think about it. And then I've come back and kind of gone, I love digital marketing. I love working brand side. What I don't love so much is the silos and the politics and all of that kind of stuff. So I've started doing some freelance work. I'm working with a small business at the moment. I've got a couple of other ones lined up, but I've also been talking to a couple of other people that worked at the Body Shop. And one of the things is that actually the Body Shop had amazing people, really, really talented people. And I think a lot of what happened was due to sort of direction from the top. There was a lot of stuff up there that we probably don't really understand or we didn't get, whatever. But the people that I worked with were amazing. And so 3 of us have come together because what we want to do is actually be able to do the stuff that we really like doing and continue that, but not maybe have to deal with some of the other stuff that you have to deal with when you're, deep inside a business. So we're at the beginning phases of this. So they specialize in sort of broader brand style marketing, and my specialism is digital. So we're coming together to say, okay, actually, we want to work with brands in a way that we can help them, hopefully, on a more holistic omni-channel kind of view, and give them some hopefully helpful advice on how to run things with the full eye on the customer rather than maybe some of the internal politics.
It's an interesting dynamic you find yourself in. I think there's benefit to the fact that you've got 15 years of experience. It's, as you say, not the first time a redundancy's occurred. So, to take stock a bit, not to panic. But it's a big fear for a lot of people, particularly those younger ones in the industry, to just all of a sudden the rug swept out from under you in some sense. The interesting thing there is you talk about a lot of people in their jobs like a lot about what they do, and there's particularly a big element of comfort as well. When you've been there a lot of time, they offer stability, a sense of normalcy. In today's news cycle, those things are often welcome. But then I imagine there's something quite empowering by all of a sudden, okay, here's what's happened. I'm out on my own again. But as you've started doing now, you've got hundreds of other colleagues and there's some really good, talented people there. And you go, well, they're all in the same position as me. Why don't we all get to talking and we can see what we come up with? But was there a level of, after you had a holiday and collected yourself, where you're like, oh no, this is pretty cool. Now I've got a moment in time where I'm experienced. This job hasn't ended on my terms, but it's ended nonetheless. And here I am with a really good idea of what I like doing and what I'd like to do more of. And instead of having to go to higher ups and say, can I do more of this, less of that? You're like, well, I can sort of build from the ground up right now and do exactly whatever I like, whenever I want, all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, very empowering. And I think also just it's nice to be able to go, okay, I agree. I'm a little bit older, so I have a bit more experience with this. Younger people, well, it is scary, and it is, as you say, the rug is pulled out from under your feet. But I'm pretty confident in my marketing. Like, I know what I'm doing. I've done like lots of digital transformations along the way. And I think talking to a number of different like recruitment agents and other colleagues and things like that actually made me go, oh, hold on. No, I do know what I'm doing. And so let's try and do something that could be really, really amazing and use those skills and those learnings to do that. And yeah, I think it does take a while. Your brain does kind of go, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Is this the right thing to do? But I think also, I've had quite a few people that I know have gone freelance and they love it. They'd never go back. And so I think having conversations with them as well, just to say, okay, what did you do? What was hard? What wasn't? Was really great, because they're really happy to talk and they're quite excited that you're going to do it as well. So it was nice to feel that. And then for them to be like, it will all be great. And you'll get to do the stuff that you really like to do, and the stuff that you'd like less, that kind of goes away. And so I'm excited to be able to look at that and go, move forward with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, change brings with it a certain level of anxiety, but often the biggest and the best things come from taking a little bit of a risk sometimes. And I think that's a really good message to send out there, is the sort of freedom to back yourself, have a bit of confidence, put yourself out there and trust that you'll be rewarded should you work hard. And I like the sentiment there of freelance, particularly in today's day and age where personal branding's become really big and you can be your own boss. Hybrid working's really opened a lot of things up. You're not reliant often on having an office space or a big company supporting you. It lends itself where you remove a lot of those overheads and you really can quite quickly set yourself up to go out there and freelance, as you say. So you might find it's something that, 5-10 years down the line, you just still like doing freelancing and operating to your own schedule. Natasha, before we round out to the famous Resell Me a Pen challenge, which I know, as with every guest, you're super excited for. Any final thoughts on the future of affiliate marketing and some of the trends that we've seen emerging, where do you think they're going to go?
Well, I mean, you kind of touched on influencer. I think influencer is going to continue to be a big one. I did a big project actually at the Body Shop with influencer, and I'm interested to see how that will go along as influencers themselves learn more about affiliate marketing and things like the YouTube update, for example, making it easier for influencers to do affiliates sort of activity. And also I think brands just leaning into affiliate. You kind of get into this sort of time frame and like everything is a little bit, everyone wants to see a return on investment and that kind of thing. So you see brands that a year or two ago weren't really looking at affiliate at all, and now they're playing hard in that space. So I think it's really interesting, and all the different types of businesses that are available, different types of affiliates that are out there now, makes it a really interesting space where I think we'll see a lot more continued change. And hopefully as people pull budget away from some of these big tech companies, they'll actually be putting it more into the affiliate channel, which is exciting.
I think it fosters competition across the industry, which is one of affiliates' big strengths, because I think that's something that marketers broadly want to see more of. And I think as the economy recovers, a healthy economy requires really good competition. Brands engaging with people and content creators and influencers, and cross-sector collaborations really going to foster that sort of competition that we like to see. And you say, yeah, maybe some of those bigger tech platforms have a few more people knocking on their door for a piece of the pie. Natasha, it's time to pivot now into the Resell Me a Pen challenge. So you've got 60 seconds to resell me an otherwise outdated product or service. Would you like to reveal what it is you're going to try and sell to me?
Manual car.
A manual car. Oh, I like this. There's someone as well who's not strictly got a manual license, but has driven a manual car from time to time on a friend of mine's farm back home in Australia. So I'm loosely familiar with it, but certainly don't own one myself. I'm excited for this one. Yeah, this is getting the sort of Top Gear fandom in me coming out. Okay, Natasha, you've got 60 seconds to resell me a manual car, and your time starts now.
Well, I mean, manual cars are going out of favor, and soon everyone is going to be electric. But the reason you want a manual car is, I mean, you can accelerate faster, it's cheaper to upkeep, all of that kind of stuff. But really, it just looks cool when you're driving it, right? Like, that's the whole thing. I think, in the future we'll be watching movies and just watching people like drive a manual car and be like, oh, I wish I could do that now. And I think you can look like a bit of a boy racer as you're going around corners and stuff like that. And you just can't do that with other types of cars. So yeah, mainly because it looks cool.
That is maybe the quickest pitch we've had in studio before. That's only taken you 38 seconds.
Yes.
And I think you got out all you need to do. I have lent into the quicker you can get the pitch out, the sort of more favourably I look upon it. I'm not sure why, but that's the rules I've established. But I like a lot about these things, namely the cool factor is something you can't underestimate, particularly when you talk about branding and things. And I'm a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise.
I was going to say.
Just looking at those gear changes and the way that they shift up and down, and they've got the NOS in the back there. I just think the looking cool factor, particularly when it comes to cars and these classic cars. I really always love the old Mustang and things like that. It can't be underrated. And even further down the line, you might even be getting onto this early, 5-10 years, when everyone's in their EVs and manual cars are even more things of the past. Everyone will look back on and think, oh, that look, there was something about that. It had this allure and this sort of nostalgia. You'll get nostalgic when you've never even driven them. That's how I find myself feeling right now. I already miss a manual car just because I'm thinking that's not something I'm ever going to get to engage in, doing like a handbrake turn and shifting down gears like Dom Toretto. I really like it, Natasha. So I think you've just about resold me on that. And the big emphasis too is they are cheaper as well and upkeep.
But it's funny because I learned to drive in America because I was at university there, and there is no difference in your driving license based on manual or automatic. So I took my test in an automatic and then went and bought a manual car. And so I had to teach myself how to drive one of those. That was fun. I remember stalling all over the place and looking very much the opposite of cool.
I tell you what, they do a funny thing in Australia actually where I just learned an automatic and got an automatic license, but you're on your sort of probationary period for about 3 years, you're learners. But once you get your full license, and that just happens if you get through 3 years without any issues, you get a license that encompasses manual cars as well. So theoretically, I could just get one and teach myself. Maybe I will. Natasha, that was great. I can't thank you enough for joining me in studio today. I think that was some really, really valuable insight, and wish you all the best for the future, whatever shape or form that takes. I'm excited to see what happens for you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And that concludes this episode of the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. A big thank you to my guest this week, Reem Makkari, joining me up top, PMW's news reporter, to chat all things AI news, and of course Natasha Phillips, the affiliate marketing expert that she is, really enlightening us all on the current state of the affiliate and partnership marketing world, and chatting a little bit about where it might be headed in the future. It was a real pleasure having her on the show, so big thank you to Natasha. But again, as always, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you, the listener, for tuning in, as you always do. Please, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice. In the meantime, have an amazing week, and you'll be hearing from me again in a fortnight's time for another episode of the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. Bye for now.